Little cute, little stupid, little brash and erratic, little bit of a nuisance, like bats in the attic. Speaking of which, if I'm the shit, then I'd have to be bad.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Load In, Load Out, a Tour Story podcast produced here in Athens, Georgia, in association with Kindercore Industries. For this episode, Ryan and Cash got a chance to sit down with Mariah Parker, better known around these parts as Lingua Franca. As is alluded to during the podcast, she's having a bit of a moment right now, shaking up the Flagpole Awards, knocking out a master's degree here at UGA, and setting out on her first tour. Topics of conversation include, but are not limited to, being a pinky on the local scene, discovering your friend is actually your tour manager, and rebutting the thesis, it's a man's world, in real time, with uncomfortable eye contact.
Next week is gonna beat the rest of them. I'm waking up at 7, I'm stretching and eating vegetables, cause beating my demons could never be fearsome as feeding them and feeling them beating up on my eardrums.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan, and this is Load In, Load Out, and we are here today with Mariah Parker.
Yo, what's up?
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Welcome. You perform as Lingua Franca.
That's me, yeah.
And you've been having like a pretty big moment lately, it seems like.
Yeah, it's getting kind of crazy a little bit.
Yeah. Flagpole Awards. You won the Hip Hop Award.
Yeah.
Did you win something else? You were nominated for a bunch of
I was
other
nominated
stuff.
for a couple others.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah,
Album of the Year and
performed, and that was awesome.
I performed. That was
Killer
super fun.
Yeah.
And
then on the cover of the Flagpole this week.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is exciting. Flagpole is our local arts paper for people that aren't
The local
here.
rag.
Yeah. So you're on the cover of that, but that's a illustration by an artist friend, is that right?
Yeah, so it's a panel that my friend Katie Cowsert made. It's part of her senior exhibition, but it's now on display at Ithaca.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I've
so
walked
they put
by
it
there
on
a
the
few
cover.
times recently and saw it's huge, right?
It's like 8 or 9 feet tall or something.
Yeah.
It's
Whoa.
a little
Do you have a picture of
intimidating.
yourself with it?
I do.
That's-
I
okay,
do.
good.
I pale in comparison
Yeah.
to
Well.
it should be the one out doing the stuff, and I should be the one.
Can you go get that? Bill, pause it. We're going to go get the
We're
picture.
gonna go get it. We'll be right
We're gonna
back.
use that for the podcast.
And you
That's
have
good.
a shirt. That's a shirt you actually have that you
Yes,
wear, right? 'Cause
yes,
I feel like
I-
I've seen you wear that shirt
I do.
several times.
Yeah. So
That
the
is
Yes Homo
awesome.
shirt is actually my favorite shirt.
That's pretty
And
awesome.
yeah,
I
so,
like that. That's
yeah.
pretty great. So before we go into we know you a bit. So before we just get into chatty stuff, let's tell us about how you got started. Like, who are you and where did you come from?
Okay, well, I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. I moved here like kind of randomly in 2014.
Okay.
And then got into graduate school here. So I was like, all right, I have like a purpose for being in Athens, Georgia.
So
Excellent.
you came here before you?
Yeah, I just had friends who lived here, and I was
Cool.
like, I literally like was crashing on like one of their boyfriends' couches, and then got a job at the Grill, and then like got a job at Belgian,
And you're like,
got
okay.
into grad school. So I'm like, all right, let's make my life happen here, I guess. Woo!
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so I've been studying linguistics at University of Georgia for the last 2 years, getting my master's in it, actually defending my master's thesis on Monday.
Wow.
So I'm like really close to being done with
That's
that part
awesome.
of school. But yeah, I started making music, I guess, the end of 2015.
Oh wow.
Well,
You didn't start doing stuff until then?
Well, so I had like rapped on the down low for like a very long time since I was
Okay.
like, like a kid,
Okay.
but never really had like a reason to do anything with all the stuff that I written.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of up and decided like, yo, I've got all this material and I'm just going to book a show and
Wow.
like turn it all into songs in like
Wow.
a couple months. And then like I did
So
a
you
show.
did the thing where you set a show to give yourself a deadline, and you were like, okay, I'm going to come up with a set by then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where was your first show?
Is that the world famous?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, when was that the first? Was that the show with? What show was that?
So that was the first Hot Corner Hip Hop.
Okay.
So like that was like the first show. Like that was like Space Dungeon's first show, and
Okay.
like a lot of other like hip hop artists who are now, like pretty like much regulars on the scene.
Yeah.
Musically, like none of us had ever performed before that
Oh,
night.
wow.
And
Oh, wow.
there also hadn't. I mean, like one reason I did it was like I moved it down and like felt like I couldn't find the hip hop anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
I like been hanging out with Squall and LG at like their
Right.
Nowhere Bar freestyle nights, but like other than that, it was bone dry. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of people, like randos, came out of the woodwork to come see this thing. That like,
did you put it on? Because you put that
Yeah,
on, don't you?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you organized that first one?
Nice.
Yeah.
And so lots of people came out, and I decided to keep doing it. So
yeah.
I do them every. Well, now it's like quarterly because
Yeah.
it's a lot
Right.
of moving parts.
Yeah,
But,
It's named after that. They used to call it a little corner there, the hot corner, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Can you give us some history of Hot Corner? Do you know? Like, I know some, but do you know?
I mean,
any?
I know like that once upon a time, like, the Morton Theater used to have a lot of really famous Black musicians come through.
Yeah.
And like there was a plethora of really dope businesses there, from
Yeah.
like, lawyers' offices and dentist offices to like mortuary services, whatever.
Right.
Like it was really bumping
Yeah.
once upon a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that guy, I think the person who owned it, I think was named Pinky, who was like very much a potentially an organized crime figure
Word.
in the Black community then, but like was one of the reasons why, because this was
Why the
something
corner was hot.
Yeah, exactly. This was something I saw at the Linden House in an exhibit like 10 years ago or something. But it was about the history of the Morton Theater and Hot Corner and stuff. And there was something about Pinky and how he was the person who had like risen to prominence in the Black community, so that the white community engaged with him. So he was the sort of like the connecting tissue between the two communities.
That's really interesting.
And so I think that was where a lot of like the power of that Hot Corner area came from, was from him, and bringing in big entertainment acts and doing all that kind of stuff.
So like, there's
Yeah.
bigger people at the Morton Theater.
Yo, I mean,
Like Louis
it was
Armstrong
huge.
and stuff
Yeah.
used to come through and
And
stuff
how do
like that.
people sit in those chairs? You know which ones? The ones up in the
Yeah.
they're like, you can't even fit your knees in there.
Yeah.
Well,
People
this
must
is a
have been
little known
smaller
fact.
once upon a time.
Yeah.
Not very good diets.
Little
I
known
don't
fact,
know.
people used to end at the knees back
Yeah,
then.
well, I mean, the main floor is fine, but up in the balcony, I mean, literally, you have
Yeah.
to turn sideways because
Well, maybe
you
they
can't
flipped
fit
the
in there.
script and that's
Or
where they
maybe
made
I
the
just
white
have really
people
long
sit.
knees. I don't know.
Like, y'all sit in the top. You sit in the bottom now.
You guys get the tiny seats. But so, if only.
Only.
'Cause,
If
there's,
only.
that'd be a hell of a pipe
It's
dream.
more likely that everyone just ended at the knees. Yeah. Let's be really real. Let's be really real.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Let's run track. Let's get it.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of Load In, Load Out. If you are, head on over to iTunes and hit us up with a review. That helps people find the show, and we sure do appreciate it. Or head on over to Kindercore.com, where you'll find out what we've been up to, including some information about our vinyl pressing plant, Kindercore Vinyl. In fact, if you'd like to check the place out, we're going to be throwing a post-Pop Fest party on August 13th at 147 Fritz Mar Lane here in Athens, Georgia. Between 1 and 5 p.m., we'll be featuring sets from Outer Sea, Harry Carey, Black Nerd Ninja, and the Hernies. We'll also be giving tours of the pressing plant, and we'll have Kindercore merchandise on sale. The Manila Express food truck will be on site for your snacking needs. We'll see you there. This week, we'd like to shine a little light and love on Nucci Space. Nucci Space is an Athens-based 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to suicide prevention. With a focus on musicians, Nucci Space advocates for and helps alleviate the suffering for those living with a brain illness, and they fight to end the stigma of mental illness treatment. Nucci Space maintains a health and resource center for musicians as a safe space to seek support and guidance. They provide access to affordable, obstacle-free professional care, and they actively participate in treatment and education about awareness, prevention, and the risk factors of mental illness. You can find more at www.nucci.org. That's www.nuci.org.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think that's probably true. Yeah. But yeah. So you've been. I mean, because I've lived here for like 25 years, and so in that time, there's been little kind of outbursts of hip hop scenes popping up, and there's been like a concentrated. The scene that exists has been there for a long time.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
didn't really have those outlets, and I think, at some points it was a little weird sometimes because there would be like a Flagpole Awards thing, and then if somebody won, if a hip hop act won, unfortunately, sometimes the response wasn't like, cool, this is awesome, let's all work together. It was like, why doesn't anyone come see us? And so it became this sort of like antagonistic thing.
Yeah.
And then you showed up on the scene, and I mean, I don't know enough about all of the inner workings of it to fully give you all the credit for it, but I mean, you did a lot to bring that into prominence and to get people to go see each other's shows. I think,
where it's more the rock scene and the hip hop scene are starting to bleed in together a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean,
I think you've done a really fantastic job at helping facilitate that.
Well, thanks. And it's funny you brought up Pinky, because honestly, unfortunately, what the scene has needed is someone to be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Like white people, let's all just hang out and chill.
Yeah.
And like, and because I came in and I didn't even know a lot about what was going on in the other parts of the hip hop scene when I came up and started doing my thing.
Yeah.
But just someone to be like a I don't know,
a pinky
on the scene to be like, hey, everybody, let's just like kick it.
You're the rallying point.
You listen to Drake in the club. Come, like there's a literal local Drake over here who you'll probably like to come see. Like just come shake your butt a little bit, and you know,
totally. And like putting on a good show, like a good showcase at a place that people want to go to.
Yeah.
And like bringing that into, I mean, I think that's been really exciting. And I'm sure in no small part due to, you know, your hard work at it. So way to go, man.
And
that's
it's
awesome.
it's gotten you to where you've been able to travel.
Yeah.
So I know you just toured. Is that your first tour?
That was my first tour. Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
How'd you feel about it?
Wow. I was like, oh man, I was having nightmares and stuff up until it, because like I was, you know, booked it all myself, and they were doing a lot of the promotional stuff also. And so I went out there, I was just like, my car's gonna break down like 20 miles from Athens, and then that's the end. And like 2 months of like planning this thing will happen for not. Yeah.
And that does happen.
Oh yeah.
I was like so sure.
before.
My Saturn's got like 250,000 miles on it.
You got a Saturn?
Yeah,
Wow.
I got a Saturn. Like, who has a Saturn?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm never coming back.
The last
Not because
one.
I like eloped or something. It's just like my car is not gonna make it.
car
I'm gonna
died.
walk off into the woods in shame.
Yeah.
Right.
I live in a new town now.
Yeah, I live in a new town now. Yeah, I just moved to Brooklyn, but not like purposefully.
Right.
I'm just here now.
I just got stuck here and I'm broke.
Yeah.
I can't leave.
But yeah, it was cool. Yeah. Like it was really chaotic in terms of like planning all the destinations, because I just kind of took a show wherever they would give me one. So
Right.
like I ended up driving to New York and back twice.
Oh yeah.
As like to make all the things
To go like in to play a show, then leave to go play another one, then come back again.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, when you're booking yourself, like you can't be as like choosy about the routing stuff. You pretty much have to take what you can get. You know?
Yeah.
And I
Did you
mean,
take anybody with you? Were you driving by yourself?
Oh man, so I almost went by myself, almost, and
Yeah.
that would have been an actual literal nightmare.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
instead, so like I had this time, like, you know, where my assistantship had just ended with school, and like also my coursework was over, and so I was like, fuck it, I got a month, let's do this, woo!
Yeah.
And then the same was true of my friend Kelly, who's also a graduate student. She does like Greek and Latin and stuff.
Okay.
And so I was like, yo, you want to go on a road trip? Like, I'll pay for gas if you drive sometimes, and like sell merch. And actually she got really good. Like, she's now like my tour manager.
Nice.
Because she like went beyond and above any level of detail that I even like thought might be important.
Yeah. Like she took to it.
Oh yeah, she took to it.
It's
hardcore.
crazy to see that stuff that will spark her becoming a tour manager.
Oh, yeah.
Like her never knowing that she was
Yeah.
going to be good at that. And then all of a sudden she's great at it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, wow, I
no.
like traveling and I'm good at details. That's
Yeah.
like one of the biggest things that you need.
Yeah, she
That's
was
awesome.
phenomenal.
So where did the tour take you? Like where did it go?
So we went up to New York,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went to Asheville, and then back to, and then back home. We had like a stop in Raleigh.
Sure.
Also, and then the second leg we went to Baltimore and Philly and DC, Richmond, Virginia, Roanoke, Virginia. We had like 3 shows in a row in Harrisonburg. It was
Wow.
like really weird.
Wow. Were they good?
They were good.
Yeah.
It was just like we like wake up every morning and like meet someone. He'd be like, "Hey, you can play at this restaurant
Oh,
later
wow.
tonight if you want," and like
Nice.
stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we're meant to be there for a day, and with a break in between, we ended up just like playing shows
So
there.
you
for, like-
stayed there and played.
Yeah,
That's
for
awesome.
days.
Harrisonburg is where James Madison is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There used to be a festival there every year called Mac Rock.
Yes.
Huh.
It was
Okay.
actually really one of my favorite festivals ever to play.
I was at Kindercore was at the first one with a booth, and I got food poisoning.
Sick.
Yeah,
Literally
literally
sick.
super sick.
So
That's
sick.
horrifying.
So sick.
But so were those your first shows that you played outside of Athens?
I'd played in Nashville once before because I used to live there.
Okay.
And so I played like my first show in Nashville last summer.
Okay.
And then I'd played a couple of shows in Atlanta.
So
but
you've
like
been in
first,
Atlanta, okay.
but first shows outside of like the Southeast. Yeah.
So how was it? Like, what'd you think?
I went into every single one being like, this is gonna be terrible. Like, no one's gonna come. Like, I hate this. Why am I here? And then like they were all of them were like really fun.
That's awesome.
All of them were like pretty well received. The crowds were very eclectic. You know, from like your regular kind of like hip hop show to just like I'm opening from this like creepy metal band where the front woman is like crawling around and like growling like Gollum.
Okay.
And stuff like that. Like,
Sure.
I don't know, like why am I here? Why shouldn't I be here? Let's just do this anyway.
Yeah, Gollum is here. Why not you?
Gollum is here. Am I really that strange an addition?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think we had a single one. I mean, like, my show in Brooklyn, the cops got called, but other than that, there was
that's pretty cool, though.
That's pretty badass.
I mean, if you're in Brooklyn,
you haven't really played a Brooklyn show until the cops get
that's
called,
pretty
right?
cool. Was it in like an apartment or
It was
something,
actually, so it was at a bookstore in like somewhat of a residential area. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was in the backyard of a bookstore that my friend works at.
Wow.
And
the cops weren't into it.
cops were not, no. But, just put the mic down, did the rest of my set a cappella.
Oh, okay.
It was cool, yeah.
Right.
Nice. It was fine.
Did you do it with tracks too, or did you just?
Well, I had been
down?
playing the tracks, but like I was like, all right, I'm at a bookstore. It's time for a quick poetry reading. How about let's do it
so you
that
just
way?
went no mic, just vocals.
No
Wow.
mic, just me in the crowd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I bet they were crazy about that too. Huh?
Actually, yeah, it was well received. Yeah.
Especially like if the cops come and try to stop a party and you figure out a way to make it continue, people are pretty stoked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're like really into it officially.
Yeah, totally. Like, I was just like imagining or remembering times being on tour and the cops have come and it's like, oh, it kills everything immediately. But with you, like, if you're a rock band with a bunch of loud rock instruments, like you can't.
There's no going back.
It's like, sorry guys, party's over. Like we're done.
I remember back when we used to practice in my old garage. The cops got called a couple times, and usually they would just tell us to shut up or whatever. But one time, this one cop came who was obviously a musician and was like, I think you guys can keep playing, but let's turn. And he went to the amps and was like, let's cut the mids down a little bit and the lows. I think the highs are fine, but the mids and the lows are carrying this far.
You want to brood it?
Yeah.
Like, what's good?
I thought you were going to say, he was like, well, I could give you a ticket or you could let me jam with you for a few minutes.
No, he was like cutting like the
show you how it's
lows.
done.
Yeah. He was like cutting the mids and the lows. Be like, those are the ones that are really carrying. The highs are fine.
It's like, anybody got a saxophone?
Yeah.
His hand out.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
But so like going, traveling, being away from. So had you ever done a road trip like that before? Like
no.
The whole like the idea of being gone from home for that long and like out and isolated in the world or doing what was also new.
Yeah.
To you as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was thrilled. I got the chance to see friends that I haven't seen in years who now live all over the place.
Right.
And like it was kind of stoked to get out of Athens because it can be it's a small town. It can be a little bit claustrophobic at times.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about touring and living here. It's like because you can leave and get away from it, and then you come back and it's like you're okay. Like it
and
sort of resets a little bit.
This is so nice.
Yeah. And then because you go out in the rest of the world and you're like, this place is so like mean and loud and fast and scary and crowded.
Why?
So much traffic. That's the thing that always frustrates me.
Oh
leaving.
my god!
Like going up to the Northeast, which is where like I grew up, like in Maryland and New Jersey and stuff. Like it takes fucking forever to get anywhere there, and I don't even understand why anybody would live here.
Yeah.
Like that to
really
me, I don't get it. I mean, my family lives there, but more power to them, I guess.
When you got out there, was there any particular restaurants that you remember? That's always one of the first things I ask about is where you ate.
Exciting food.
Yeah. Well, so I played a show in Harrisonburg at a place called the Golden Pony, and I think the next morning Yeah, we like literally went to like this place called the Little Grill, which is like a worker-owned vegan cafe like in the middle of town. And show up there and eating, and like the waiter's just asking us like who we are, what we're doing here, and like the food was phenomenal. Food was phenomenal. But then he's like, oh, we're having a show here later. Do you want to open?
What?
And then like gives me my bill. I'm like, okay, yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
Signing the bill. Do you want to open? Here's your check.
Yeah. Like very clever, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome though. And so, I mean, I guess that's another cool thing about touring as like a small unit versus as a bigger thing is because it's easier to kind of like. Did you stay at people's houses generally?
Yeah, we mostly stayed at people's houses. Yeah.
Did you do hotels at all?
Once because I got like really sick, and so right after Harrisonburg actually. So like, we drove like a few miles out of town and got a motel and slept because I was like, I'm not gonna like be coughing on someone's couch pillows right now. Like,
it was that waiter at that server
got me.
So you can play later, but you'll pay for it tomorrow.
Pay for it.
Yeah. So as like audience wise, did you have like a place where I guess I always like to know when you felt like if there was one that felt really awesome and then the opposite, you know, like did you have any kind of like I love the range of experience there, you know?
Yeah. In Asheville, I was really taken aback by how many people came out to the show.
Yeah.
Since I used to live there, I had a lot of old friends who came.
Right.
But
Where'd you play?
I played at the Moth Lion.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
And so, and it was like pretty full in there. And I was like, who are the rest of these people? Like, I don't know.
Did your friends bring them?
To this day, I'm not sure what brought all these people out of the show. I'm really thrilled that so many people came and they seemed to really enjoy themselves.
That's awesome.
And they all like, you know, the audience interaction was really good. Like they were really like, you know, connecting with, you know, the call and response stuff.
Right.
But it was just like too magical. I was like, okay, these people literally materialized and disappeared. There's something, this isn't.
Somebody's trying to trick you. I'm too smart for this.
I didn't think too much about it. I just drove home. I was like, all right, that's cool. Dope.
Yeah.
Going back to Athens. But
it was again the server from the vegan place.
He's like,
in Harrisonburg.
He's like the Wicked, or not the Wicked. He's like the Glinda or something from Wizard of Oz. Just
shows up and
does. Now there's like 100 people at your show.
Here's your bill.
Here's your bill. Yeah, right.
But he keeps charging you for those services, and you're like, I didn't ask for this. I can't pay for these services. Right. So did you have you like curious how it feels doing like going? I mean, I've never gone out like. And performed hip hop, obviously. I mean, and it's a good thing.
You haven't?
But I know it sounds weird. I know it seems weird to you, but I know. Once you guys all get over the shock, I'll continue.
All right.
But,
give us a second.
Yeah.
Just give us a second.
But
wow.
so, like, I don't know. I feel like when you're up there with, you know, like loud guitars or something, and the audience isn't into it or buying it, it's sort of just like whatever. Like you're just there and you're loud, and it's.
I'm just gonna get louder.
Right.
I'm just gonna get snottier.
But
I'm gonna throw my drums around and have a temper tantrum, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
At least then it's, you know, fun for you or whatever. But like I feel like I mean I'm sure I'm just projecting this, so you take it and roll with it. But I just feel like it would be really weird to be up there.
Oh, totally.
With like just a microphone by yourself and people aren't buying it, and you're like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because there's not like you could like make eye contact with your bassist and be like,
yeah, exactly.
Look at these, you know, assholes out here not digging it. It's just like me, and there's no one to fall back on.
Yeah.
And even just performing in general, like it's a lot. I think that it's inherently a lot less dynamic than watching a full band because there's a lot fewer moving parts. It is just me and like my words and stuff. And so thinking about it very like in terms of like theater.
Right.
And
well, you always own the stage. Like you're all over the place. On the stage.
Well, I have to. I think it's like I have to be as engaging and like have as much going on, like, you know, physically as I can because I am the instrument. And so I have to be I have to be all the instruments at once in terms of like visually what people are going to like, you know, grasp onto.
Right. And like, but you get that though and realize that it is a show and a performance. I think like that's sometimes where other people will fall down doing the same thing where they just sort of stand there and it's like, okay, man, but like this isn't very exciting, you know? And like when you're up there, it's like, holy shit. Okay. She's like owning the room, putting on a performance, doing the whole thing. And so, so have you had an experience where you were like up there and you were like, all right, I'm doing it. And then you looked out and you were like, I'm getting nothing back.
They're not. No, they're not. Again, Harrisonburg, the show we're open for this band.
Really?
I opened for like, I mean, they came to see like sludgy metal stuff. And then they threw me on and I had no idea who the other bands were. I like found out about the show 6 hours earlier. And so.
Was it that show the guy asked you to play?
Yeah. He's like, they are going to be not ready for this at all.
He's Loki, the trickster god is what it is.
Yes, Loki, the trickster god, indeed. And so, Yeah, just like a little bit. I mean, like I just saw the genuine confusion registering on everyone's faces of like, what is this?
Yeah.
Because it was not what they had come to see at all.
Like, okay, I had an idea about what was going to happen tonight, and this was not a part of it.
Yeah. And I especially know because I always try to get people to come up closer to the stage because, like, you know, then I can talk to them one-on-one. And they just like didn't. I was like, y'all come on up. I'm not gonna budge. And they like didn't budge. I was like,
it's gonna be like that. Huh?
Here we go. We're going in.
Guys, get excited. It's gonna be a really awesome half hour.
Yeah.
But I bet there was at least a couple people in there that really connected to it.
I always find that one or two people who are like who will like, you know, engage with me. I can make eye contact with them. I can sing to them or whatever. And like that like usually saves my soul in those moments.
That's the weird thing about playing shows out of town when you get to a place, especially like and I mean I don't, you know, obviously different dynamics with like one or two people together, but like especially I've noticed like in band tours, and it always inevitably happens when everybody is like at that point where they're like starting to be irritated as shit with each other and not getting along, and then you get to a place and there's like no friends there because it's, you know, in the middle of nowhere, and there are none of those people that you can look at and be like, oh cool, it's good, you know, like there's so and so or whatever, and then you're frustrated with everybody on stage, and you're just like, you know, but that's the dark part of it, and that doesn't happen all that much. You know,
very
I shouldn't be focusing on
it. But you feel like that was the only part of that tour that happened on? So I remember I talked to you earlier and you said that pretty much the tour was, I talked to you a couple days ago, a couple weeks ago, whatever. You said the tour was pretty much good all the way around.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess there's another show where like I played for like 4 people.
Yeah.
And even still, like, you know, the bartenders had a great time. When I left, they were playing it on Spotify over the loudspeakers, and like, you know, we were chatting a long time. The 4 people who came, you know, the people in the audience, like, still really enjoyed it.
See, sometimes those can be even better. Those can be the best.
Right. You have this really personal connection with these, like, a couple of folks you just met who, like, you know, instead of feeling really removed from it, or feeling really impersonal because of this, like, distance of being in a crowd, they're actually, like, feel very personally, like, touched by it.
Yeah, that's an investment show where like you connected with them and the people who work there, so next time you come they're going to be telling everybody about that show. Like
when I played in DC, one of the bartenders bought, like, she told her friends about it, texting them during the show, and then bought like 4 t-shirts to like give to all of them when she saw them later and stuff like that. Where
was that show?
It was at a place called Smith Public Trust in Brooklyn, DC.
Cool.
Yeah. It was a really cool bar. It was like a Sunday night though, so like.
Oh yeah. It can be hard. Yeah. So, did you get into any weird danger situations or anything like that?
Weird danger.
Did you find yourself in any place sketchy?
Yeah. Well, when we were in Philly, my
classic place for danger.
Well, okay, I guess it like wasn't like immediate danger, but I came out the next morning from the house I was staying to find that my car had been broken into.
Oh man.
And what was crazy though, that they didn't take anything. I had like headphones in there and like cables for like my plugging in my, you know, iPhone to the charger and like all this stuff. They didn't take anything. My friends were like, watch out for syringes though. Because sometimes people will just, you know, break into your car to do drugs. So I was like, okay, looking around, like, okay, everything's still here. I moved my car down the block, and then the person I parked behind is like, you know, your hood is popped open, right? And I was like, say what? And then we look inside, and like nothing's gone. I didn't take anything. They got in my car.
They were just fucking
They popped
with you.
the hood and like wanted to like look around, or I don't even know.
They just want to pretend.
Loki, the trickster guy.
Hey, he was still with me even then.
Sat behind the wheel, just moving it around, going beep 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 in the middle of the night.
Oh yes, indeed. That was really the worst thing. I mean, other than like trying to park in fucking Brooklyn.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Dude.
So many. I know that there's so many cars that have come and gone, and vans that have come and gone that just have hundreds of dollars of tickets attached to them just from Brooklyn. Just from trying to play in Brooklyn, CMJ or any shows up there or whatever.
Yeah. That was like very early in the tour, but that almost broke us as a pair. I was like, you just gonna let me park illegally, because if I don't get out of this car right now,
I'm gonna freak out.
We will both die.
Oh god. I mean, because you'll be like, oh, I got to New York like 2 hours ago, but it's taken me 2 hours to get from the outside of the city into where I'm supposed to play. You know, it's always like, oh yeah, no, New York's not that far away, but then it's that like 2 hours that it takes you to find your place and drive around, and oh god.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's
not only that, but like you think with the subway and stuff that'll be easy to get around and it won't take that much time, but like, you know, 10 miles takes 2 hours on the subway to get through.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Even once you get in the city.
I love taking the subway when I lived there.
It's cray. It's cray.
It is.
I love a subway.
Yeah.
I'm really into public transportation.
Me too. When it's
not
efficient.
that subway.
Hey.
Actually, speaking of, that's what I got food poisoning from it in Harrisonburg. At
Well,
Mac
shout out to our
Breakfast.
sponsors.
Yeah. Shout out to our sponsor, Subway. Thanks for the food poisoning. What was it? It was like 24 years ago. I hope you've cleaned your restaurant since then. Your Harrisonburg restaurant got me sick 24 years ago. And I've never forgotten it. So now we kind of like jumped right into the touring thing.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to ask you about your like production and how you make your music.
What?
So like so you decide you'd been writing and rapping to yourself or for yourself for years. So like what was the transition and how do you make the music? Like how does that all go down?
Okay. Well, a lot of it I'll either like start structuring it thematically, like, oh, I have these like 3 verses that are all about being really depressed.
Okay.
And like I never thought of them as a song before. I just kind of have them in the cachet.
Right.
And so like thinking of them then as like, okay, then I need a hook or something like that.
Right.
Sometimes a beat will come along that will inspire like thinking of the verses with more cohesion of like, okay, this is how the song is structured. And so I've got 16 bars that'll go here and 16 bars that'll go here. And then like because of the way the beat is formatted like that, it'll call for something more.
Right.
So the structure of it will then dictate what I need to do.
Cool.
Usually the only producer, because I'm on SoundCloud and stuff, I know a bunch of cats in town who like make beats, and so I usually just like work with them because they're friends of mine. But I've had little opportunity to do like a lot of close one-on-one collaboration. But what's really exciting about my next project is that it's all going to be produced by West Ruler. And so like on stage he's like making all the beats live and
That's who was with you doing the beats the other day.
at the Flagpole Awards and stuff. And so there's flexibility for, okay, maybe we'll switch these 2 parts or we'll just like add a couple more parts here and just play around with it live, pretty much like jamming. And so whereas before like we worked really remotely just because shit's been really crazy. I'm really stoked to like actually sit down and just like jam like a band does and
That's
like really
awesome.
make this very like organic and like interpersonal.
The interplay was really cool at the Flagpole Awards when he was doing the beats on the pad or whatever, Dr. Sample or whatever it was. It was maybe a Dr. Sample descendant. But a descendant of Dr. Sample. But yeah, that was
Intern
really
sample.
Cool. Intern sample.
Well, not a doctor. Resident nurse sample.
Resident nurse sample. Yeah.
You should sell equipment names to Boss. I'm sure they would pay you a lot for that.
Chiropractor sample.
What?
She understands.
I got you. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Derailer.
Yeah, Derailer, exactly. That's his nickname. So who have you? So you have your EP.
Yeah.
And who'd you work with on that? Did you do the tracks yourself, or did you work with people, or?
So I worked with several producers who either have lived here or used to live here. The one that made most of the beats actually for the EP, he used to live here. He was he was one of those randos that came out to the first show. He was like, read about this at the Flagpole. And then he turned out to be like an amazing genius, like boom bap, like hip hop producer on the low, while he was doing his pharmacy doctorate.
Weird.
Yeah, totally
Crazy.
random. And then like became like the main man on the scene. Like after that, people were like, how dare you hide from us? We needed you.
We need this.
We needed you this whole time. It's like really bizarre, but his name is Adam, but he goes by Let's Run Track, and a lot of the beats he produced. He produced the beat for Gold Bike and stuff like that. There's another guy in town who is a part of a collective called YOD, named Dex, who did the beat for The Con and the Can, and then Merc Daddy Flex actually did one of the beats.
Cool.
I tried so hard. Like he's one of those people I'd love to collaborate with. Like one-on-one, but he's very mysterious. And so I'm like, all right, fine. Like we have that track together, and that'll be the end of it.
Couldn't break through.
I like for a year because like when I first moved to Athens, I got really into his music. And like I was like, I guess he doesn't really exist. It just comes out of like a, I don't know.
So you were trying to figure out who it was?
Yeah, I was trying to like track him down or
Yeah.
something. Because I like
really
heard
funny.
tell that
Yeah.
he works at a
There's
cigarette.
this guy,
Yeah. Even after like I found him like on Facebook and I was like, yo, dude, like I love your beats. Can I like rap to some of them? He's like, sure. But like, still didn't meet him for another like 8 months.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So, it's like, okay.
So
man.
it's like the Tinder of hip hop, where like you meet them and you talk to them for like 6 months and then they just disappear.
And then they just disappear.
They just ghost
and
on
then you
you.
see him around. You're like, hey, oh, okay, bye. Ooh.
I guess
Yeah,
we
hey,
don't,
I know
we
you
don't
from
follow
somewhere.
each other.
Yeah, your face looks familiar.
I know you, but I don't know where. Oh, right. We
Right.
talked on Tinder. Yeah.
JK. Okay.
Yeah, right.
When you
Yeah.
move to Tinder analogies, I'm like so lost. I have no.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
I'm so old.
Stay away.
And married.
I'm
It's
old
not-
too, but
Old and married.
you know, I'm not married.
Yeah, but you're
It's
not
fine.
old. You
So-
like to pretend you're as old as me, but you're not.
There's some I was on one of your songs. I feel like it might have come up on a couple of them. Now that I think about it, I'm wondering if this is inspired by someone else or inspired by you. You don't want to talk about it; it's totally fine. But
I'm pretty open book
Adderall.
generally. Oh yeah. Woo-hoo. Yeah. So what about it? I can tell you lots of things.
Well, it seems like it's something that a lot of my friends right now are having big problems with Adderall, and it just seems to have come out this year.
That's
Because
interesting.
Adderall was always something that like I always saw as, oh, someone needs help studying,
Right.
take Adderall, and it never seemed to be that insidious. But now this year specifically, I know at least 3 or 4 people who are in it deep and are having really bad problems with Adderall.
Yeah.
Don't say their names.
I'm not going to say that.
I think that living in America, especially, we're so coerced into being as productive as possible all the
Yeah.
time, and so it's really appealing because it's like, I just like don't resent my work. I
Right.
want to be like a perfect little worker bee and like get all my shit done and like clean my whole house and feel like my life is together. And
Yeah.
so like of the drugs, it does that. Like rather than like,
Yeah.
oh wow, it's like woke up after 3 days. Where am I? And like where are my kids or whatever? It's like you
Like
know.
I haven't slept in 3 days and my house is clean.
Yeah, right. It makes you feel like your life is really together.
Right.
And so I can see why people I personally know that how tempting it is to like want to be in that state all the time.
To do that, yeah.
'Cause I'm so terrified of drugs in general.
Yeah.
Like I was prescribed trazodone for being an insomniac. And even that I'm terrified of. But Adderall has always been one of the ones where I'm like, that one might actually be okay.
Right? It's like, oh, what's the harm? And like, okay, now your house is clean and you're,
Right.
Right. Yeah.
you worked a 12-hour shift without like hating your life or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
Like it
You
was
wouldn't
fine.
care that you
What's
could never
wrong about
sleep.
that? But it's
Right.
like, and then when you don't, if you become used to that and then have it cut off suddenly, then like your level of normal has completely dissipated.
Really fucked
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. And so that's where the problem
Because it's
comes in.
always like
Yeah.
I'm awake at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning anyway. And instead of just
So I
watching
might as well be
Instead
doing
of
drugs.
right.
instead of watching Futurama for
Yeah.
the 100th time, which is off Netflix. Fuck you, Netflix. But instead of watching
How could you?
Futurama for the 100th time,
Well,
I
not
might
a
as well be
sponsor.
cleaning or doing something.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like why, not even like what it does to you, because it's inconclusive, like how terrible it is for your body. I mean, sure, if you're abusing it, then that's never
Sure.
good. But that's why, at least in a philosophical sense, it's really easy to justify.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
I might as well be productive if
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like awake
And
or
it's not really a drug. It's prescribed to people.
It's prescribed to people. Yeah. But my experience was that like I was introduced to it at like amounts you were not like no one should be taking.
Right. Yeah,
and so
yeah.
and so the fact that like people are prescribed it based on like their body weight or type or
Right.
like how the severity of their symptoms, but like
Yes.
without that sort of benchmark from a
Right.
fucking doctor, then it can get
You know,
really loony.
metrics, prescriptions.
Reasons why,
Right.
anything. It can
Medical
get really loony
diagnosis.
really
Yeah.
really fast. And so-
Absolutely. Yeah.
When was it that you realized like, oh shit, this needs to go away?
Oh God. So I remember.
If you don't mind talking about this stuff.
We may have to edit it out later, but we'll see. I'm cool talking about it for right now.
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
Yeah.
But I had back when I was an undergrad, I had a day where like I literally slept all day from like I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, my day's wasted now. What am I gonna do? And I had like a little
Might
bit
as
of
well take
Adderall
some
in my
Adderall.
and I definitely had slept all day because I was withdrawing from
Right.
it. And I was like, well, it's a Friday night. Like maybe I'll feel like being awake.
Yeah.
It would just like take a little bit, and there was nothing going on. It wasn't like I was gonna clean my house.
Right.
I literally took some Adderall to like stand hanging out with my friends.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, all right, this is like
Hold up.
this has gotten a little fucked. Well, how did we get here? I don't remember how.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but that was a while ago. And then like I had taken some like recently, like a very comparatively minuscule amount, and felt the same effect as taking like 100 times
Because
that.
you hadn't taken it for so long.
Right. And
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. And then it clicked in my head like, wow, I really did fuck up kind of bad back then.
Because I was doing all that. Yeah.
That was like not. I mean, the
Yeah.
staying awake for 4 days at a time in itself should have tipped it off to me. Like, that's not
Maybe,
really.
you know.
Yeah, maybe. But.
Well, see, my problem is opposite. I'll stay awake for 4 days at a time on nothing because I'm
Anyway.
an insomniac.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm always like, well, I might as well do something besides laying here playing, Clash of Clans on my phone and watching Futurama.
Which
Yeah.
you can't do anymore, thanks a lot, Netflix.
Yeah,
I'd like
I
to
know.
say again for you.
Well, they have seasons 7 through 10, but not 1 through 6 anymore.
Oh, man.
Which is stupid.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. White people problems.
Well,
She's like, oh, I'm white,
I mean, hey, you come by them honestly.
We waste a slave labor wages to blaze like Jamaicans. It ranges from disadvantageous to blatantly dangerous. No money in savings, no savings to take a vacation. No vacation, so we out world famous drinking Jameson. Debating where the days all went and why the days that went became so flavorless. Chasing paper daily, feeling chained to it. Aspirations placed upon a waiting list. Hoping these fake pens elevate us to weightlessness. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 hits. Some baked his help the way that helped my bacon atheist. So I'm like, hey, Mitch, I'm kinda hating this. Feeling a part
Hey, I mean-
But,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, doing drugs out of boredom is more of like a high school thing. I feel like maybe
Because when you get
maybe
to be an
don't
adult,
need
you're
to
like,
use
wow,
that.
I got problems.
Yeah.
I got some shit that I need to do drugs for now.
Yeah, I feel so I don't know. I think you're probably good just not doing it.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm not
If you're
going to do
currently
it.
Yeah,
I'm
you just-
terrified of it.
Yeah, don't do it.
Especially because of the friends recently who have had these problems. And they're some of the most fucked up problems I've seen on drugs recently.
Which
It's-
friend specifically?
I'm not telling
I'm gonna
you.
try another.
What
time.
are their social security
yeah,
numbers and where do they live? I'm
I
calling the
mean,
cops.
the
But like, no, but I want,
privacy, whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah, absolutely.
But it's fucked up. Like,
but like, what kind of symptoms are they experiencing? Because like me with my like, I'll let you, I'm
Like-
curious. I'm
or
curious.
material.
like
for new
just
stuff,
get to a
songs.
point where they're up for several days
Right.
and then they end up either not going to work or their work is affected or not being able to do their work.
Right.
Losing lots of weight, not necessarily eating.
Yeah.
Getting kind of neurotic and like
Yeah.
hard to understand and hard to relate to other people and like
Mm-hmm.
connect with other people. And I've seen some people get really bad.
Being
Yeah.
obsessed with the Rolling Stones song "Mother's Little Helper."
Yes.
That's what that's
Oh
about.
God. Oh
you know,
God. Oh
straight
dear.
up. Yeah. But
That's
I
my
mean, 'cause
favorite.
then it was just diet
That's actually my
pills.
very
That-
favorite.
yeah.
Given to everybody for diet.
It's the same thing. It's all speed.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's literally my favorite Rolling Stones song.
Is it? That's a good song. I don't think it's my
What
favorite.
a
but that's a good
dragon is getting old.
song. For the rest of the podcast, Cash is gonna
Just this.
do acapella.
This is the life now? Oh,
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Oh,
This is
no.
where we live. We just
Yeah.
get to listen to this forever now.
I'm not ready.
But I mean, like touching on the subject of some of your songs and stuff like that. I mean, that's something that I latched onto. We've
Yeah.
latched onto because it's something that's going on right now.
Yeah, I think it is kind of timely. I mean, it's interesting to hear that you've been like experiencing this with people like particularly recently, but I think definitely in the last like decade.
Yes.
Like especially within academic culture, like the
Yeah.
cutthroat competitiveness of it. I think it's coming out a lot.
I think that's very
But
true.
yeah, but it also kind of fits into like the larger narrative of the EP because especially someone that like struggles with depression, it's like it's cool to take a magic pill that makes you not
Oh, yeah.
get out of bed.
Yeah.
Right.
Check
You
it
know,
out.
and-
I can do stuff now.
Check it out. I can do stuff. Like everything feels fine.
Yeah.
Even though prescription drugs aren't supposed to work like that, obviously.
Right.
Right.
And so I think like that is sort of how, like, while it's not something that like I deal with as often anymore. Like, it fits into the whole the larger arc with like, oh yeah, this has been a part of my life because
where you've come from.
Yeah, of where I've come from, and like the reasons why. Like I think people look for easy outs when they're not feeling great.
Right,
absolutely.
And drugs of all kinds, are that.
Yep.
Classic solution.
Classic
solution.
Classic solution.
In heavy air quotes.
Yeah, classic solution.
And it's hard, being someone. I've always been someone who's tried to deal with it all myself, and I'm one of the few people I know who doesn't even smoke pot. I've always kind of just dealt with things myself.
Mr. High and Mighty over here.
I'm not being high and mighty.
Hey yo, I don't smoke weed neither. I don't know if you noticed that other song on the EP.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've always been someone
so
who's
proud
been.
of you both.
Yeah,
You should be. But then there's something like now taking trazodone. I'm worried about that stuff because I'm an insomniac. I'm a really bad insomniac, and
But you can sleep
it's
now.
something that I've dealt with my whole life, and it almost feels like you're cheating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think
Well,
that,
Cheating nature a little bit.
I will say that as somebody who takes medication for like anxiety and depression,
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, and when you start to feel better, you can feel like, oh, this is cheating. But then you start to feel like, hey, wait a minute, this is what real life is supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so without this, like without like medication, I wouldn't be the functioning human being.
right, but
that I am
that's
right now.
that's what I'm always afraid of is I have an
That you
addictive
might be a
personality.
functioning human
Well,
being.
no, is that you get used to that, like what you're saying, is you start to feel that,
Right.
and then you're like, oh, more of that, please.
Yeah.
Right. You sort of become accustomed to it, and so it no longer has that euphoric or like.
So
I
you
don't know.
need more
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
I guess the thing being is you're not shooting for euphoric. Do you know what I mean?
I'm
Like
just shooting for sleep.
Like you're shooting
Right.
for being able to sleep or being
Yeah.
able to get through your day without having a panic attack.
Yeah,
or, You know
yeah.
what I mean? Being able to get out of bed in the morning instead of sleeping for 3 days,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think if you're with medication, you're shooting for that, not for like, oh my God, I've never felt this good in my life.
Precisely.
You know what I mean? Like,
But and coming back to your EP, it's
Yeah.
like, it's touching on a lot of things that I think are. I'm not hearing a lot in a lot of the music I've been listening to lately, where it's like talking about depression, talking about having to deal with
like personal story,
yeah,
narrative stuff. Yeah.
that I think that's one of the things that's drawing a lot of people to your music.
Especially honest, like narrative.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's really easy to find personal narrative stuff, but it's like, I'm fucking awesome and you guys all suck, whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, to get out there and be like, hey, what's up? I'm flawed. Like,
Hey,
I'm a
and here's
person.
my list of flaws.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
But like you were just saying, like the audience sees that and goes like, I identify with that.
Right.
I
Yeah.
have some of those
What's the
flaws
response
too,
been
or,
like? Have
Have
you had people come up to you and just be like, "Oh my God, you are singing my soul," basically?
specifically that? If it wasn't exactly that, then just pass.
Right.
Like, who did you talk to? Who are you quoting? Because I feel like I know this person. No, I mean, it has been really like touching when people come up and like say like after a show, like, yo, I know what you're talking about. Like, I didn't think other people thought about those types of things
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like that really, I mean, like I made the music to be, as catharsis, but the fact that like we in those moments both feel like we're not alone in the things we think about and feel like that's
Yes.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I think that especially the song 8 Weeks, which was about like my abortion experience.
Yeah.
I appreciate, I mean, like the response I've gotten from that a lot is like, wow, I never, like people who haven't been through that are like, wow,
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way
That way.
before.
Right.
Who were kind of coming from a standpoint that I did like pre that experience of like, oh, it's so cut and dry, like whatever. It's a surgery. I'm a feminist.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
oh no, actually it's way more layered and complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting to have those conversations with people where they think they're like, they just don't see the shades of like intimacy to it.
Right. Yeah,
and so
Right, you're supposed to be as a good leftist, like be like, oh, I'm going to do this and everything's fine, and then
No
it's
big
rays
deal.
of sunshine
Everybody
afterwards.
chill.
Yeah.
Everybody chill. Where
It's like no, there's
Turns out there are emotions involved.
Yeah.
turns out there's emotions involved.
Yeah.
Turns out that like overwhelming positivity isn't the right response all the
Right.
time when
Right.
someone like to just like, oh yeah, choice and like
Yeah.
go have explore your liberties. Like actually
Yeah.
exploring your liberties sucks
Well,
sometimes.
that's
Right.
one of the complicated parts about being pro-choice
Yeah.
and being for a lot of inclusion is that you have to also admit that, like, I mean, you know, you don't. No one's pro-abortion.
No,
you know what I mean? No one's like, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to like almost act like that in order to stand up to the other side.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to be
right.
like, you know, you're fighting relentlessly for it and saying we have to do this, we have to make this available to people. But with the understanding that life is complicated and hard, and there aren't any easy answers for everybody.
Like my ex worked at Planned Parenthood and a couple other abortion clinics up north, and that was one of the things that, like, you know, she would have to. She was a counselor for people who had gone through or either getting abortions or gone through abortions or whatever. And that's one of the things that she talked about constantly is like, yeah. People expect it to be done and happy. Yeah. Like, no, like you had a surgery.
Right. Which in itself is like traumatic, regardless of like what, you know, it's for.
And there's lots of thoughts in this. Even if you're happy that you did it, there's still thoughts of like, you know, there's guilt. There's all these other things that people have to deal with. And if you're telling them like, no, you should be, this is the best thing to happen to you.
Right. That's like, it feels very contradictory and belittling.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Then you like feel the self-doubt of like, am I supposed to feel okay?
Oh yeah, why
this?
don't I
Like,
feel overjoyed that like, you know,
I do exercise my rights.
Exercise
Why
my
am I
rights.
excited?
Dope. Yeah.
So on like a kind of on the same wavelength, but I maybe more positive spin on that whole thing. Like I feel like when I've seen you perform, one of the things that I notice is like the joy that people seem to have, like because you're obviously having a lot of fun, like when you're moving all over the place, like we were talking about owning the stage, like being everywhere,
getting on a bike,
you know, like depending on the venue or where, you know, the situation is. Like, you know, we saw you the other night at the art opening at the Trio Gallery at Pixel and Ink, and you were basically in like a fully lit room. Standing face to face,
totally lit.
Standing face to face with everybody who was there. Like there was no
360 degree like people all around me. Like,
there was no disconnect from you in the audience. You were like right in the middle of it. And it could have potentially been crazy awkward because I've been in situations like that before where somebody starts playing and then everyone's like, I was just up here to talk to people like, oh God, now I'm stuck and I can't move. And like immediately when you come out and you do like a call and response thing and you kind of get the audience excited about that stuff, you can see how that starts to affect people and people get really excited. And I mean, I know we talked about this before, but like my daughter Poppy, who's 5.5, like seeing you perform was like, you just blew her mind because she'd never seen.
Makes me so happy.
You know, she's obsessed with going to see her Aunt Lydia play Without Her C, and she loves that. And then this was a different kind of performing that she had never seen anyone do before. She was also excited because like she likes like hip hop and pop music on the radio.
Cool, yeah.
So like to hear something that was closer to that.
I keep needing to bring my daughter. She's 13.
Oh yeah.
She's the only thing she cares about now is hip hop.
Dope. Bring her out.
I'm trying to steer her in like the right direction with that.
Word. Yeah. It's hard to. I mean, like conscious, quote unquote, conscious hip hop has been kept so underground. There was like a brief moment with like Black Star where it was like cool to like think about stuff, and then Kendrick is kind of that way now a little bit, but yeah, you gotta steer folks
too.
Huh?
I was always in Adele.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Soul. I mean, we're older, so that was all the stuff that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
All the Stones Throw stuff has been something I've been really into.
Oh, it's so good, but it's like I've had conversations with people when I introduce them to like Aesop Rock or someone. They're like, why isn't this on the radio? And it's like, please don't get me into it. Like,
but she has moved more towards her favorite right now is Childish Gambino.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of moving into that direction a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, she can like whatever she wants to like.
Yeah. Sure she can, Dad.
But
sure she can.
There was some stuff that was definitely, you know, more positive or whatever that I'm trying to get her pushed into that direction.
But there's definitely a broad range is the thing. And so it's easy to kind of get like musically pigeonholed, like in terms of like as a listener of like, oh, I always hear this song on the radio, where it's like actually like hip hop is really diverse.
Yeah,
there is a lot.
Absolutely.
And so like at least like taste all the other things before you go eat the, you know,
just eat the junk food,
eat the Subway.
Yeah. I mean sometimes but I mean, you know, sometimes fast food is good and fun, you know, like I mean there's you know, I feel like you know, everybody can find like a radio hit that at some point was like, oh fuck yeah, that was my jam.
Really,
I mean, she's
she's
really into Beyonce, and I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah,
like, I actually kind of really like Beyonce too, especially Lemonade. Like,
so good.
I've been looking at all the different copies of Lemonade to buy her because she's coming back from summer break. Just surprise her, like, look look, I bought a LP of Lemonade.
Oh, dude, do it. She'd be like, what do you play that on? No, she knows better than that.
Oh, yeah.
No, our kids know what's up. Yeah, like Poppy, I heard that, because, we've we actually really haven't talked about it that much, but we're opening a vinyl pressing plant in town, and so Poppy has started explaining to her friends what records are, but gets really frustrated when they don't understand, because her friends, she'll be like, it's how you listen to music, and they're like, but we listen to it on the phone, or we listen to whatever, and she's like, no, it's got a big picture, and there's a big thing inside, and you pull it out, and you put it on, and that's where music comes from. Yeah, you tell them, kids.
Like the music origin stories. They're like, ooh.
Although she's super confused about what a pressing plant is, because she keeps asking me when I'm open if I can make her specific records. Like, she was like, can you make me the soundtrack to Despicable Me or whatever? And I'm like, well, it's not really how it works. I was like, so I tried to explain ordering, and she goes, well, and I could be one of your customers. I just want to order one of those.
That is so cute.
It's pretty cute.
Yeah, it's adorable.
But so going back to the touring thing, did you have any like crazy stories or anything?
Is there an aha moment where you're like
that you feel like you didn't?
This is why I'm doing it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So I went to this one. So again, Harrisonburg, Virginia. Everyone go there. I don't know. It's a magical place.
No, it was great. When we used to do the background thing, I loved doing it.
Yeah.
Best show I've ever seen in my life was Jason Molina in Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Was it an outdoor thing? Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's a magical spot. But I played. So my first night there, first show there, there are these dudes in the audience. It was like a hip hop showcase, and they had a couple spoken word poets, and it was like celebrating Malcolm X's birthday, and so they had like protections of Malcolm X behind the stage and all this cool stuff. And there's like this one group who like were just being really obnoxious. Yeah. I mean, this is like a hip hop show. They're being really boisterous and stuff.
Right.
But I come up on stage, and my first song, it's got like some James Brown samples from It's a Man's World in it. And so the song is very, very outwardly feminist. So just like the whole thing, it's about, fuck y'all.
Yeah.
And so I open up, and I'm just like, yo, who in here thinks it's a man's world? And they all go bananas, like, yeah! And so I had the distinct delight of like walking to the edge of the stage and just like making eye contact with the one closest to me and rapping the entire song to him. And he looked like deeply, deeply uncomfortable. He may have had his pants. I'm not sure. Like he really, really was like just like cowered. Like he crumpled like a piece of paper. It was dope.
That's amazing. But you know what? That guy went home and thought about it, and maybe he'll change his ways.
Maybe he'll just double up on the misogyny. Like fuck that bitch. She made me feel sad in the crowd.
She made me think about my life.
And so people after the show was like, "Was that scripted?" I was like, "No, I've never met those guys in my life." It gets better, however. So I have this, these songs or like little interludes on the EP talking about how I don't smoke weed because it makes me really anxious.
Yeah.
And so I was like,
anxiety attacks.
Hey, yo, straight up. I feel you. You. Yes. And so I was preparing to go into that song, and the guy yells out, like, tell him to smoke some. Tell him to smoke some. Like, just yelling, just like, he got on stage and like was like yelling at me.
Oh my
and
God.
I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Is that where we're going?
And that's where we're going. So again, I rapped to him about this whole like, acapella, just like, this is why I don't smoke weed, and like, also fuck you.
Yeah.
And people at the end of the show were like, there's no way you didn't pay those guys to interrupt your sets when they did, because like it was too perfect. But I was like, nah, like
it just worked.
It's just just really, it's like in real time, like fighting the stuff in society that makes me mad.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So you're like hip hop superhero. Right when the enemies make their case, you're right there. Like,
that's awesome.
Superhero.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And now I rebut.
And like, because like, not only are you a woman going out and doing this stuff, you're a woman going out and do this stuff, overtly singing about women's issues and things that are important to you. Yeah. So like, I mean, when we've had some women on previously that have been instrumentalists, they've talked about how like getting treated like shit by sound guys who would say, like, oh, there's your boyfriend's band playing tonight.
Let me tune that for you.
Yeah. I mean, just general like just fucking run of the mill like rock club misogyny kind of bullshit. But I don't have any real experience, obviously, in the hip hop world, as I have previously explained. Mm-hmm. Does that carry over there? Is it hard to feel comfortable as a woman performing in that scene? Like,
I mean, I don't feel uncomfortable because nobody can fuck with me, first of all.
You just get out there and do it.
I just get up there and do the damn thing. But I do, like, kind of going into it, know, like, okay, if this person's asking me about my music afterwards, they're actually asking if they could take me out on a date. Like, very rarely do people actually take my work seriously. They'll think, like, oh, you fly female.
Right.
Like, you know.
I talked to you about her tracks, and then next thing you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Or whatever. So it like, people very rarely have, like, a first meeting with someone where they actually, like, they could have just seen me perform and they'll still be like, what you doing after this?
What's up, girl?
Yeah, what's up, girl? It's never like, oh, we should collaborate on tracks, which I would love. I invite. Or, it's never like, oh, so I noticed you rap about this or that. It's straight to, like, the booty. So, I mean, but that doesn't even bother me anymore because it's just like, cool. I don't want to, like, if that's where you're going anyway, like.
Because, like, now you know that's what it's going to be.
Right, just, like, move on.
Swipe left.
Swipe left, move on. Because hopefully there will be someone in the audience who gets it. Or, I've had people who have come out of that eventually. They saw me a couple times. I saw them perform. I put on shows for them. They're like, okay, this chick does work. Like, let's talk about business eventually. So, like, either don't worry about it or, like, if I see people again, hopefully they eventually, come to see me as, like, a colleague.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you put in a lot of work. I mean,
shit is not easy.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, like, and you're like you just said, so whereas some people might potentially feel intimidated in the same situations, you're just like, I just get up there and just do my fucking thing. Yeah, and I'm not worried about it. Which is, I mean, that's a pretty strong perspective, like feeling to take that I think a lot of people don't necessarily feel like that, and they can get in that situation and kind of feel beaten down by the whole thing. And so, one, it's awesome that you go into it with, like, the self-confidence and feeling of just like, I'm here, I'm gonna fucking do this. Like, if no one pays attention, it doesn't matter, or it'll be great. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like really commendable and awesome, but it it's interesting to see how that, like, psychologically that whole thing works with people.
And that's one, and knowing how you perform live and all that is one of the main reasons. Again, like, as a father, I would love to get a chance to bring my daughter to your show. Because she needs to see that shit. Yeah. I mean, she's living in a world, like, where she's dealing with these guys at school and other girls.
Right, yeah.
Who just tear her down, treat her like shit,
Yeah.
Like, look, you can be...
Middle school is so awesome.
Dude.
It's so much fun.
Brutal. But, you need to, like, take all that getting beat down and turn it into something. And, like, I just, like, want more than anything to just encourage other women to do the same.
Yeah.
Or, just people in general. Yeah. If you've had, like, rough shit, just turn that anger. You got that anger.
Yeah.
Turn it into some art. People will love it.
Yeah.
Or you could just, play Clash of Clans and watch Futurama all night. It's all. And that's fine too.
Think about doing Adderall.
Think about doing Adderall all night. Yeah.
So. Also, though, you are, you're political, like you've talked about, or like, you have activist tendencies or instincts or whatever, which you have now turned into, like, a concrete thing that you're doing, being a campaign manager, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, I'd love to. Yeah. I met Tommy Valentine, I guess last year at a hip hop show. He's also a former hip hop artist. Yeah. And we just connected over, like, music stuff and talking about, like, race and music and just, like, having some really, like, deep and frank and sometimes a little, like, jarring conversations about it because I don't, like, I was like, who's this white boy who raps?
Right.
And I came at him like, okay, let's talk. But he really is, but I, like, came to really like him because he is very deeply thoughtful about, like, his place in the whole thing, his privilege and stuff like that. So I came to really like him as a result. And then, he
tries to earn it, it seems like. He tries to do the work.
Right. Yeah. And he's very well studied also. He does have a very genuine appreciation for the craft and, like, the history of it. Whereas a lot of people just come in like, oh yeah, I listen to Drake.
Right, yeah, here
like,
I am.
I'm a rapper now. It's like, sit down, be humble. But so we, like, kind of became, like, acquaintances, and then early in the spring, he asked me to be his field director for his campaign, and then recently I took on the position of campaign manager.
That is awesome.
So yeah, I love it. I mean, I, like, in every way of my life, and I guess I don't know how I keep making this happen. I don't know how, but like, making what I love to do into work. Like, people ask me what I do for fun. I'm like, I'm not sure. I turned all of it into, like, what I do for a living now. Yeah. But
that's great though, because you can
and everything's coming up Mariah lately. So
To what?
Everything's coming up Mariah lately.
So I was saying when we started, you're having a moment right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Hey, and like my inner pessimist is like, when's it all gonna come
when's it over?
crumbling
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Don't worry, we'll have you back on in a week and talk about how you had a moment.
Yeah, it just crashed and stuff. Yeah. So how was that moment? That's over now.
So Tommy's running for commissioner, right?
Yeah, he's running for county commissioner in actually this district.
Okay, cool.
Where this house is located.
Excellent.
Yes.
So, and that election is in
It's next May.
next May.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, well, cool. That's awesome. So you're doing that. You're finishing up your doctorate.
Yeah. So I'm finishing my master's. I guess technically
your
on
master's.
Monday. Yes,
Yeah,
and then.
Can you throw a couple more things on top of the fire?
Yeah.
You got the music,
Yeah.
the masters, the
What else?
campaign manager.
Another thing I do.
Training to be an astronaut or anything?
Yeah. Oh, I keep forgetting about the astronaut thing.
Right.
Whoa.
That again.
Nah, just those.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking great. That's awesome. And so, you're about to start recording new stuff, you said, or or starting to work on formulating it, I guess.
Yes.
Cool.
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about the specifics of it yet,
Okay.
other than we're going to be doing a lot of remixes of stuff from the EP.
Okay.
With Wes, and all that's going to come out in November.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Okay. And are you doing any more touring coming up, or?
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really random. I'm not sure how this happened once again.
Yeah.
But August, I got like a couple shows in Atlanta, a show in Asheville. Just got booked to play the Secret Stages Festival in Birmingham.
Nice.
Oh,
you!
you! I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Yeah, because I looked it up and I saw that. Yeah, cool. We need to
Why don't we
talk.
just ride together?
We should. I mean, it's just me and Wes.
It's just the Blunt Bangs, dude.
Okay, I mean, I know like real rock bands have like tons of things. Like Wes's equipment fits in a backpack, so we can I've been meaning to like reach out to you because hell yeah.
Yeah, we can still ride together.
Dude, yeah.
Cool.
We're gonna have a van. We'll have plenty of space.
Okay, cool. All right. So
Nice.
so we're all going to Secret Stages.
Travel arrangements made. Excellent.
So there's that.
It's a really freaking cool festival.
I'm really excited.
Me too.
A lot of the other hip hop acts, they're from all over and like really, really cool. Dem Atlas I've never seen, and I'm really excited to see them. And I've never been to Birmingham, so yeah.
Old Billy back there.
Oh, Billy.
He's from Alabama.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, from around
Sweet.
Birmingham.
Okay.
Blame all of it on him.
Blame it all on him.
Alabama, just generally.
No, that's rad. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So that just happened last week. And then playing George Fest in Atlanta.
Jorts?
Fest. Yes.
Wow.
It's like
Okay.
it's like very it's a 1-day festival at Mammal Gallery.
Oh, okay.
And it's very accessibility focused. So like they make
Oh.
sure that it's accessible for people of different abilities and
Nice.
ages.
Cool.
It's free, and they have like, different nonprofits tabling about, how they work in their communities to make, spaces more accessible.
Killer.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
There's this killer. I think you just said killer, so I said killer. Someone said
Why
killer.
it's not me, man.
It infected me. Your killer infected me. But anyway, there's this awesome festival that I've been trying to get down here. Mike Amari from Shanafalana. I always say it wrong. Shanafalana. Excuse me. No, it's Shanafalana. I always say she's a good friend of mine. I always say her goddamn name wrong. I'm going.
Keep going.
Anyway, so there's this festival called O Positive Festival where they have different healthcare people come in and donate their time. And so all the bands who play this festival get free healthcare, like screening, dentistry work, like women's health, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You can every year you can go and have all your screening done at this festival. And the festival is pay for the people who come to it, pay what you can. So if you can only just spend $5, you get a wristband for $5.
That's dope. Yeah.
I've been trying to get him to bring it down in this area.
Where is it? Where are they located normally?
It's up
Kingston, New York.
in Kingston, New York.
Okay.
But if you can write to him and get on that festival, it'd be a great festival to get on.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh,
I haven't been to see a
Positive
doctor
Festival.
in forever.
Yeah, O Positive Festival.
All right, word. Yeah.
And Kingston is awesome.
Kingston-
If I wasn't living, if things didn't work out for me here, Kingston were where I would be going these days. I love Kingston, New York.
You always give a backup city.
Well, we'll just get very rich and powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll have a second home in Kingston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and start making those plans now.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
making them now.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, go ahead and make that money now.
I have my rich and powerful plans all in place too.
Yeah.
So now we just
Yours have to do
there.
with an island, though, right?
Oh no.
Oh no, he's not allowed to tell you. Is why he's
I can't tell you. Yeah,
he's
no,
like,
definitely not an island. What are you talking about?
Anyway.
Well, cool. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about while you're here?
You mentioned when you talked about the exhibit, but I think we did already. Did we talk about it already?
A little bit.
Let's talk about the.
We can
the
plug
cover
it
of the
again.
flagpole.
Sure.
Is the painting by your friend? And
Yes.
Then there's an exhibit.
Yes. And so the exhibit aims to sort of, because usually they have a lot of like professional artists, display there.
Yeah.
And things of that sort. But this particular exhibit is aiming to sort of give a space for up and coming artists who are like doing a lot of work in their communities.
Yeah.
And so I think like, for example, there's a series of prints made by like folks at the Athens Free School,
Cool.
talking also about the work that they actually do with education, but also
Yeah.
they're just like beautiful pieces of art.
Yeah.
Also. And so my contribution, in addition to being in this like, painting, this gigantic panel, I have like some excerpts from my thesis research represented, which I actually did on Squale. I don't know if you know Squale personally. He's one of my favorite rappers in town and just a really good friend of mine.
I know the name, but
Yeah, he was one of the people who got me into hip hop here. Like, his like Freestyle Nights at Nowhere bar was like the first entrance to the scene I had at all.
Nice.
It's like one of my first friends that rapped around here.
Yeah.
But so my thesis, I like studied his lyrics really intensely and also just like recorded and transcribed some freestyle ciphers that we had together.
Okay.
And like look at the differences between these different modes or purposes, social purposes of, his lyrics. Because sometimes he's rapping about living in the trap.
Yeah.
Other times he's rapping like very consciously about like police brutality and stuff like that. And so I'm looking at like how those genres look differently in terms of grammar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the types of language choices that are made.
Nice.
And so an excerpt of his lyrics are presented in the gallery along with my like coding of him, as well as like a diagram of some of like my findings. And then you can listen to the songs that I transcribed and analyzed at the gallery. They have like a listening station. So that's my thing. I'm like, it's so crazy that this fucking thing I wrote is like 92 pages that no one's ever going to read. And so I just had to plug the thing in the gallery because it's like, this is the last gasping breath of this like monstrosity that's just tied up in my basement that will never see the light of day effectively.
Well, somebody has to see it to give you your degree, right?
I fucking hope they read it, man. I don't know though. Right? Yeah, they supposedly got to, and they're going to realize the night before that it's 92 pages and be upset with themselves for putting it off. And they'll show up the next day like, sleepy, like, there were words on the page. Yeah, there were a lot of them. Great job.
After that, are you done with your master's then?
Yeah, after I'm done with my master's, and then I will have officially, once I actually have my degree conferred, I'm allowed to officially be accepted into the PhD program.
Oh, okay.
So a lot has been hanging in the balance for a while. Like, well, I could not finish it and have my whole future just like swirl down the the drain. Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. I'll just do music all the time. But I'm looking on track to actually start the PhD program in language and literacy education in the fall.
Wow.
Here?
Yes,
So
here.
that's what comes next.
Athens.
Yeah.
Love Athens.
Yeah, you're one of the people that I've talked to at least a few times, maybe just once, about like people always leaving. I'm like, no, y'all stay.
Yeah.
Stay.
Man, it used to drive me so crazy. I would be like, because I always felt when with the record label and stuff that we were always trying to like build the scene, and so it would be like, oh, this is really exciting. There's this really great band. God damn it, they're moving to Brooklyn. What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's
Nah,
like we're
that
trying to
ain't
do
me.
something here. Don't leave.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't understand. I mean,
Build
I don't.
some roots. Nobody grows roots anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you certainly don't grow roots in Brooklyn. Like,
No,
come
man.
on. If you're
Yeah.
gonna grow them anywhere,
No,
like if
it
you're
is
really
not there.
and like have a stable base that's gonna support you, like
Yeah.
this is the place. I don't get it. I don't get
Totally.
it.
Cheap
Totally.
rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People moving to Atlanta. I'm like, what are you thinking?
Seriously.
What's there? Nothing.
I mean, you
It's
can take advantage of Atlanta from
traffic.
here. It's only an hour away.
please. Yeah.
Yeah.
But by all means, pay double rent just
Yeah,
to like walk out your door and like get punched in the face and robbed. But like,
Exactly.
I ain't gonna stop you.
Not that you can't do that here too.
Not
I
that you
guess.
can't do that here.
As Jace found
I just have
the
my
other
daughter punch me in the face in the den all the time and take all my money that way.
day.
Okay.
Your daughter do that?
Yeah.
She
Nice.
would love that. I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go to Urban Outfitters. Punches me, takes my money.
Yeah, you don't. I guess you don't even need to go to Atlanta for all that. It's true.
Yeah.
You don't have to leave your home.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you can get hit at home.
Well, anyway, speaking of punches in the faces,
Are you about to punch me in the face?
Yeah.
Please don't do that here.
we're gonna end it with me punching you.
It's a new tradition.
Yes. So, how can people find you?
Go to the Hot Corner.
You can go to Hot Corner. Yeah,
Yeah.
the next Hot Corner Hip Hop is July 29th at Little Kings.
Okay.
Got a bunch of folks from Pensacola and North Carolina and Savannah coming to
Nice.
perform, and that'll be cool.
Cool.
But on the internets, you can go to linguafranca.bandcamp.com with a little dash between Lingua Franca.
Okay.
Facebook, if you search Lingua Franca, that's me.
Yes.
It's the little picture of me looking really angry. It's a little cartoon with my arms crossed. Like, I'm gonna kill you.
Oh yeah, you do. Like,
That's
yeah,
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
I'm also on like Twitter and Instagram, like
Yeah.
Lingua Franca with a Q. So yeah, that's me. The
Okay.
various spots I can be found.
Awesome.
Also find me at World Famous drinking.
Yes.
Generally. Generally.
Well, excellent. Thank you for coming. This has been awesome.
Yo, thanks for
Yeah.
having me. Y'all dope.
All right. See ya.
Sweet.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Load In, Load Out, a tour story podcast produced by me, Bill Fortenberry. Our hosts are Ryan Lewis and Cash Carter. Check us out on iTunes and leave us a review if you get an inclination to do so, or check us out at kindercore.com. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with a special amalgam show made up of interviews with Lemuel Hayes, session drummer for Cindy Wilton and a host of others, and Dave Barbie, head of the UGA Music Business Program and producer for the Drive-By Truckers. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.